Yeah, so I had some time today to make some videos, so I'm gonna make a few. This one, maybe you remember a while ago I made this video why I boycott Coca-Cola, or the Coca-Cola company, since they make a lot of stuff, obviously. Lots of people, I mean, I got like a pretty positive response to that. Lots of people commented, lots of people were like, wow, I didn't know this stuff, cool. And yeah, I mean, I was surprised really. I thought more people would sort of argue and be like, oh, they create jobs, that sort of stuff. So I thought they would probably argue with me, but the response was pretty positive. And lots of people said that I should make more videos like that. So, wait, I think I have to sneeze. Wait. Basically, I wanted to make a video then on, yeah, boycotts in general, why you would want to do it, obviously also the criticisms of, you know, why, you know, maybe it doesn't work, and just, you know, the general sort of reasons why people would boycott stuff, and, you know, just talking about it in general. First I have to get my notes. Okay. So, first, I guess, best to start with the question, why to boycott things at all, you know, does it really make a difference? And in a word, no. I'm not sure it does, you know, but I mean, the one thing that I do know is that in a sort of capitalist system, what we buy matters a hell of a lot more than who we vote for. Just because that's just how sort of the world runs, and you know, obviously it's all about the money, and whatever people are buying is what, you know, big companies are making money out of selling. So yeah, so I mean, lots of people use this rhetoric, you vote with your money, or you vote with your shopping cart or something like that. I'm not sure it really works like that, but I do realize that, you know, companies respond to sort of what people want. I mean, you've seen, like, over the last, like, I don't know if it's 10 or maybe even 20 years, how, you know, things have, like, companies are promoting themselves as green and as fair trade and whatever. So no matter what sort of behind those things, a lot of it is really disingenuous. But, you know, obviously companies, like, care about their image, care about, yeah, that kind of stuff. Companies like Coca-Cola don't really have to, because they've already got so much fame and whatever that, you know, Coca-Cola is the brand. It's so hard to imagine life without it. Well, it really isn't, but, you know, I guess for a lot of people maybe. It's just so iconic, you know, so they're not really that concerned about their image, I think. Well, obviously they are, but in terms of being fair or green or whatever. So yeah, so I mean, whether or not it's true that you can make a difference, and I'm not convinced that you can, whereas I'm not sure that you don't at all. I think what matters a lot more is, you know, it makes a difference to you. I think it's a question of empowerment, you know. For me, it's very disempowering to walk into a supermarket and just buy anything that they put on the shelves for me to buy. You know, I would feel, you know, I want to have some part in deciding, you know, what's behind all these things that I buy. Like there's a lot more to it than you would think. Yeah, so I just don't want to be blindly taking anything off the shelves and buying it, you know, because, you know, I would feel cheated, you know, because I have a lot of strong opinions on stuff, obviously, as I'm sure you do too, and I just want to make sure that there's not someone sitting in their office like, ha ha ha, nobody knows that, you know, these things were produced in a sweatshop by, like, children. So for me, it's a question a lot of empowerment, and it's a question of, you know, what I want, what I accept in my own life, and what I can, like, live with, you know, karma-wise even, I guess, and what I'm willing to say, that's okay, I'll pay my money to this company for. Because, you know, after all, you're giving them your money, so, you know, obviously I think you should have some say in what you're buying, and not just, you know, whatever's cheap or whatever you like. basically, yeah, I mean, first, of course, before we go on to talking about, you know, brands that you should boycott, I think there's certain basics about being like a conscientious consumer and sort of thinking about the story behind stuff. You know, and that's just stuff like, you know, buying free-range eggs, not caged eggs, or, you know, even buying, I think there's even better than free-range, like the chickens like live in the wood, the woods and have a free and amazing life, or you know, becoming vegan and not buying eggs at all, which would be probably the best. I'm not vegan, I'm vegetarian, so I just make sure that I buy them free range, and I buy them from like local producers and not from the supermarket. So it's stuff like that. It's buying locally, supporting local businesses, not supporting, you know, big supermarket chains. And I think that's all just sort of common sense stuff. It's just like, you know, these are people who are in my community. I want to help them, not just some rich guy who I don't even know, you know? So that's why I like buying locally. You know, then there's also the environmental question of sort of shipping things around and the sort of carbon produced by that, etc. So yeah, then there's the whole thing about buying fruit and vegetables in season, not when they've just been like sent to you from like Chile, which I guess is further away from me than it would be from you if you're in the USA, but still, you know, just trying to buy stuff that are at least from your own country. Just because of the cost, of the environmental cost of transporting it. Yeah. So often these things are cheaper, and this sort of brings me to the general rule about boycotts. For me, well, you know, the price of something isn't my main concern. I have to save money just like everyone else, but a lot of people around me who refuse to boycott things, their reasoning is, I don't have money, I just have to buy whatever's cheapest. But I think if you think about it, the only reason why something is cheap ever in stores is because someone has already paid for it for you. They've either paid for it with their underpaid labor, or the environment has paid for it through like environmental costs. You know, when something's cheap, it's not like, oh my god, it's so cheap, Walmart loves me. It's because it racked up costs all over on the way, and all sorts of other factors have been paying everything for you so that you don't have to. So cheap doesn't mean cheap. If you were to actually add the human and the environmental cost of these really cheap products, they'd be so expensive, you know? So you know, it's, as much as we all want to save money, it's better to save money in buying less than, you know, buying cheaper things, if that makes any sense. But you know, it's whatever matters to you. I don't wanna push this on you like, oh, if you don't boycott stuff, like you're a bad person or whatever. You know, this is very much, you know, I mean, I'm saying it's about empowerment, so it's obviously a decision that you have to, you know, make yourself. What am I okay with supporting with my dollars? What am I not okay with? Where do I draw the line, you know? And some of you may, you know, say, I don't really care, you know, if there's like people working in sweatshops or whatever. It's, you know, I'm sure it's all for the good somewhere along the way. Maybe, you know, maybe some of you think that, and that's fine. So maybe you don't want to boycott anything, or maybe you think, yeah, you know, I understand, you know, boycotting the really bad things, but I'm not gonna go on the internet and like check for every single company if they do something bad. And to be honest, that's how I feel as well. Like, I have lists here of different. Actually, no, I'll go through the list first and then I'll explain. Okay, so you may want to boycott stuff. Lots of people boycott stuff because of animal rights issues, mainly animal testing things. Yeah, it's cosmetics companies who still test their products on animals. You know, it's a bit like strange in this day and age. You don't really have to anymore. There's lots of different ways to test stuff, but for some reason they still do. And you know, if you're like an animal rights supporter, then you're probably not okay with that, and you'd probably want to boycott those companies. I definitely do. And so some of those are, well, there's loads. I'm gonna put a list in the thing because there's so many, but just to name a few: Arm & Hammer, Dove, Garnier, Lancome, Neutrogena, things, you know, things that just, companies that, everyday big companies that seem okay, I guess. And then of course L'Oreal, which is a big bad one. And the worst thing about it is that, for example, the Body Shop is also part of L'Oreal. So no matter, you know, the Body Shop is probably the worst example of being totally disingenuous and, you know, oh, we have no animal testing, whatever, and blah, blah. It's all nonsense. Don't shop from the Body Shop. They're, like, terrible. I swear. So, yeah, and this, you know, obviously, you know, that's why I like sort of companies like Lush so much. Although they're not perfect by any means. They have a lot of sort of, you know, they've got like bad stuff about them too, for sure, but they're sort of the best out of a bad bunch, because cosmetics companies super dangerous. Just a lot of the stuff is owned by Procter and Gamble anyway, and all of their sort of sub companies do animal testing as well. So, and Procter and Gamble, it's very hard to boycott. Like, I don't even know if I'm doing it right because they own like everything. I mean, I'll put a list of stuff they own down there in the thing, a link. Yeah, they're very hard to boycott. Yeah, but yeah, I guess some of the big animal testing ones are L'Oreal. Yeah, that's probably the big one. Yeah, and then or for human rights reasons, like I like Coca-Cola, as I said. All of their sort of dodgy human rights stuff. You know, Sweatshops, which is another hard thing to boycott, because pretty much any high street fashion label, you know, H&M, Forever 21, Zara, or, you know, basically all of them use sweatshops. It's just normal. It's just what you do. It's just where you know, you just produce your clothes cheap in Asia probably, and in sweatshops. It's just normal. So it's an exception to the rule if there's a shop that doesn't do that. For example, American Apparel. I can't really name any others because I don't buy them any clothes. I usually buy them secondhand, which is the one way you can completely say, you know, I'm gonna save myself all this trouble of checking the labels and thinking about everything and looking everything up online. I'm just gonna buy secondhand because, you know, then I'm sure that is ethical. The worst one, obviously, for human rights sweatshops, for human rights issues, like worse, such a fail. Yeah, one of the worst ones for sweatshops is obviously Nike. Nike is a big one that there's a very big and active boycott of. They've attracted so much criticism, just like Coca-Cola. Nike is a big bad company, and I urge you not to buy from them. I know they sell a lot of stuff, and like, I know lots of people buy their stuff, but they're really bad. Like, they yeah, it's just the thing about sweatshops. And just to explain the sweatshop thing more, and why it's so bad, you know, lots of people are fully aware that the sweatshops exist, but they think it's okay. For example, there's this video, Globalization is Good, this documentary film by this crazy, I think he's Norwegian, this crazy guy, who basically walks into a sweatshop and says, well, you know, this is the factory where, you know, things are made. I wouldn't want to work here, but, you know, the people, it's great for them because they get a job. Yeah, when there's no jobs at all, and you basically have to get a job where you work from like 7 in the morning to 8 in the evening, and then you go to sleep in your little bunk bed, which is above the room in which you work in. You get paid like 10 cents for that a day. Sometimes, you know, people in really poor countries, in developing countries, have to get jobs like that. You know, that doesn't mean that anyone is any happier for it. It's pretty terrible. It's basically enslavement for a little bit of money. So, just not cool at all, you know, just so we can have all our so many clothes, and they're all so cheap. So I definitely don't support that. You know, child labor is another issue. I'm not sure what companies do that. I think there's a lot of, like, I think there's been a crackdown. I think there's a lot of laws against it now, even in developing countries. So, but I don't care if it's children or adults who are subjected to really terrible conditions. It's not cool either way. you know, human beings should be treated like that. You know, they're the ones, it's just crazy, the idea that they're the ones who actually make the clothes. The factory owner, without them, he could close up, you know, but they're the ones who get paid the least, and they're just basically slaves. So yeah, I mean, I guess this is a very left-wing perspective, of course, I'm aware of that, but yeah, take it or leave it. So yeah, sweatshops, very bad. Yeah, I don't know, the thing you can do basically is check in the labels where it's made in Bangladesh, sweatshop, made in Vietnam, sweatshop, and well, pretty much anything in Asia. For a while I used to like say, made in Turkey. Well, that can't be that bad. Turkey is like a pretty okay country. But yeah, no, just to be sure, I just would steer clear of all, you know, all sorts of big popular shops. And anything where it's not made in whatever country you live in. Of course it's the best to buy clothes that are made in the USA or made in, you know, wherever you live. Yeah, and then of course labels like American Apparel are great, very expensive, I mean just very like hipster, just super stupid, but you know, at least you know it's ethical, and they do have some nice stuff. Then what else? Ah yes, supermarkets. I think this is a whole nother area of my boycotts. Certain supermarket chains. Walmart, Tesco's, I'm sure there are others I can't think of now. Walmart and Tesco's for me are the big ones. Also because lots of their stuff is produced in sweatshops, and because they treat their employees really badly, Walmart does, and just all sorts of sort of bad stuff that's come up about them in the past. And so that's why I definitely wouldn't buy from them. Then there's Tesco's, and I mean this sort of overlaps because supermarkets all use the same sort of tactics. You know, they're just very vicious. Okay, so people have local stores in a nice little local community, then these big supermarkets try to get there, and you know, most of the time the people in the communities aren't majorly against it because nobody really, you know, hates supermarkets that much. I do, but most people don't. And well, you know, okay, first of all, they put like producers that they buy from out of business because they, you know, in order to have their cheap prices, they don't pay anything basically for the stuff that they sell, so producers get put out of business. Local shops get put out of business because they can't compete with the prices, you know, that places like Tesco and Walmart have, and just the communities basically just go down the drain because there's just this big ugly supermarket not even creating that many jobs most of the time, not creating good jobs anyway because employees get paid nothing and get treated like crap, and it just, nobody benefits from it, you know. The only person who benefits from it is, you know, some rich guy who gets all the cash in the end. So, you know, I really, you know, want to do stuff that actually benefit people around me, and I think supermarkets definitely don't, at least, you know, some of them. There's like, and then Walmart, actually I heard something about them like putting electronic tags in their clothes to like track people. That sounds a bit like conspiracy theory, like I don't know if that's true. But yeah, you know, just plain scary, like that's just the thing. These are the cheapest places, and there sure is a reason why they're so cheap, you know. Bad quality, and of course that they're just so ruthless. And it's just not very nice. So yeah, those are the supermarkets I boycott. Yeah, Tesco. I hate Tesco. Ever since I've been in England, I've just been like, please can everyone just stop shopping there? It's so bad. They built a store on the main road of sort of my neighborhood, and I don't understand why, and I'm so scared what it's gonna do to like my local greengrocer and like local butcher, or don't really go because I'm vegetarian, but you know, I still sort of care about their survival. Like it's just, you know, these are all like local people who are just normal people and who like are part of the community, and then these businesses come from outside the community and, you know, try to make money off of everyone, and I don't think it's very nice. Right, and then next thing I want to talk about, this is a sort of, this is not so straightforward. You know, it's obvious that everyone should want to boycott sweatshops. What a comment. I'll just put that out there. No, but it's more obvious than this. I boycott Israeli products and companies that support Israel's occupation of Palestine. I feel very strongly on this issue. I'm very against the occupation, obviously. So, yeah, there's a lot of different opinions on this. Lots of people say, you know, it doesn't make a single difference to the occupation if you're going to boycott Israeli products, and I totally take that point, but this is something where I feel like I would have blood on my hands if I were to buy this stuff. And this is actually a really shocking one. There's lots of companies that that openly support the occupation. And obviously it's up to you again where to draw the line. Maybe you don't share my opinion on Israel, Palestine. Maybe you think that, you know, yeah, fine, boycott the companies that actively support the occupation, but, you know, other Israeli companies, you know, that maybe don't even support it, you know, why boycott them? And that's perfectly fine, you know. I don't buy oranges or avocados that are from Israel. I definitely don't, but I'm not 100% sure if that's, you know, really that important. But I'm definitely very adamant about boycotting brands that actively support Israel, and there's a lot of big ones that really do. Starbucks, I'm never gonna buy anything from them again, for sure. Also, they're really expensive and just a bit ridiculous. Starbucks really support the occupation of Palestine. Marks and Spencer's do. McDonald's, Nestle, L'Oreal, and Estee Lauder, IBM, Intel. Obviously IBM and Intel, it's not that easy to boycott. It's not a question of buying like a different, you know, weird computer part. you can't just do that like you would buy different avocados. So yeah, some of them are a bit harder, but Starbucks should be pretty easy to boycott. There's a lot of coffee places. Starbucks, as far as I'm concerned, I hope they just, you know, they're just terrible, aren't they? I mean, they're like some really like terrible weeds that just pop up everywhere and just kill everything around them. Like, I don't like it. I don't like the uniformity of it as well. Like every corner has a Starbucks. They're all the same. Like for a while it's like, oh, that's so nice and familiar, and after a while, like, that's just very sinister. Yeah, Marks and Spencer's are a big one. McDonald's, and I don't see why anyone would want to eat anything there anyway. I mean, to be fair, I do sometimes, I like the food for what it is, but it's a bit like, why put it inside your body? Just, you know. Nestle, and oh yeah, this is the overall point I was gonna make. What seems to happen over, you know, once you engage with this, once you think about what brands to boycott, whatever, it's always the same ones that come up again and again and again. There's maybe, well, there's quite a few big brands, big companies that come up again under human rights, under animal testing, environmental concerns, everything. And Israel, Palestine, they just keep popping up, and and those are usually the biggest companies, of course, because they make the most money, because they're the most ruthless. And those are Coca-Cola, Nike, L'Oreal, Nestle, yeah, there's a huge boycott of them going on. I don't know the story, but basically in a nutshell, they were selling milk, breast milk formula to developing countries, in which, like, the water supplies that most people had were super polluted, and obviously you have to mix the breast milk formula with water. So it would have been way better if people had just gone on breastfeeding, but, you know, Nestle, fully aware of this. I'm not buying anything, any stories that they weren't fully aware of this, and, you know, who cares, want to make a buck off, you know, the poor people in developing countries, sell their milk formula, babies dying left and right. That's pretty horrendous, and yeah, there's a big boycott of them going on. At my university, they don't even sell their products on the campus. So, I mean, that's definitely something to look into. Yeah, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, there's certain big brands that come up, but yeah, it's obviously up to you to say, you know, big ones like Procter and Gamble, Coca-Cola, Nike, Starbucks, Walmart, McDonald's, whatever. It's up to you to say, I'm just gonna try to not buy from the big ones. Or, you know, there's some people who look into it very, very much more sort of zealously, you know, even if, for example, Kellogg's like used one GM like crop a couple of years ago, I'm gonna boycott them. I probably wouldn't do that, you know. I don't know, at some point, like, I feel like the only thing I'll be able to eat anymore would be spider webs if I really and that's not even vegan. If I really try to boycott so much, it gets very complicated. Another thing I should probably pay more attention to is the sort of environmental concerns, and I haven't really talked about many companies because this is something I don't pay that much attention to. I definitely should. And that is stuff like, you know, not buying things that have palm oil in them, because palm oil, like the growing of palm oil, contributes to a lot of sort of deforestation in the rainforest. There's a lot of stuff to look into, you know, there's a lot of stuff. But yeah, it's not really as hard as one would think. There's certain ways in which you can just, you don't have to really put any effort in, and you can be sure that you're going to be boycotting everything you should be boycotting, like, you know, buying locally, buying from small companies, buying like sort of obscure stuff a lot of the time, which is really fun, and then buying everything secondhand, which you can. You know, those are just a few ways in which you can make it simpler for yourself. Or you could obviously go to a big supermarket and look at every label the whole time, which, you know, is probably good to do. Yeah, oh, what I forgot to say, Walmart is Asda in the UK, so Asda is also a serious no-no. Like, Walmart has a really big ongoing boycott as well, actually. I haven't looked so much into what they've actually done, because I just boycott them anyway, but I'll put all sorts of information in the bar underneath. That website, ethicalconsumer.org, has a great list of all the brands that it would be good to boycott and why, and then I'm going to add another few websites that have lots of if you want to boycott like brands that support the occupation of Palestine, then I'm going to put some websites in there for you. So yeah, this is, yeah, I guess that's just a general sort of overview. I'm fully aware that there's lots of criticisms of this, you know, and I don't want to make this video too long, otherwise I would respond to them. But if you think, oh my god, she's talking so much shit, then just, like, literally write me a message and we can discuss it, you know? Yeah, it's very much a personal thing. I have a lot of very left-wing friends who say, nonsense, I'm not gonna boycott anything. For me, it matters a lot. It's no substitute for activism, and it's no substitute for anything. It's nothing really. It's just, you know, there's a quote by Leo Tolstoy, everyone thinks of changing the world, nobody thinks of changing themselves. And, you know, I do want to think of changing myself, or at least my life, or at least sort of my impact on the world in general. So, yeah. I hope that was of some use or interest to you at all. And, yeah, see ya.